here today to talk to you about the state of public safety in Chicago. I know that people are scared and emotions around public safety, and specifically gun violence, including carjackings, are running high. And it is threatening not only our residents, but our police officers as well. Already this year, 69 police officers have been shot at or shot alone, the most in almost a decade. And this includes Ella French, who, as we all know, paid the ultimate price when she was killed in the line of duty. To address this problem of the volume of illegal guns, the Chicago Police Department has reinvigorated dedicated gun teams and continues to lean into our partnership with the ATF and other federals, state and county law enforcement and federal prosecutors. CPD are seizing guns, systematically debriefing arrestees to find the source of the guns, running traces, signing up confidential informants, and doing everything possible to be proactive in this fight. This work is important and another vital tool in keeping our streets safe from illegal guns. But more can and must be done. That requires additional resources and help from our federal partners. You have heard me, Superintendent Brown, talk about the issue of the number of violent, dangerous people out on electronic monitoring. I know no one believes that our communities are safer if murderers, attempted murderers, rapists, carjackers are placed on electronic monitoring and EM and are essentially free to go about their business after they are charged. Of course, they are entitled to a presumption of innocence and their day in court. Those rights are sacrosanct under our Constitution. I'm also not saying that nonviolent offenders or poor people should be held in custody pre-trial. I fundamentally do not believe that the Cook County Jail should be a debtor's prison. But if you are charged with killing someone, trying to kill someone, taking a vehicle at gunpoint,
Whoa. Good evening, everybody. This is Jerry Vasilatos, your host for Chicago Corner. I have returned, a little bit worse for wear, but I'm back, and I'm very, very excited to join you again tonight for this Tuesday night edition of Chicago Corner. That video of Mayor Lightfoot, unfortunately, was buffering from my desktop here, so although we got some of the audio, I believe her image froze up a little bit, but I think hopefully many of you saw her press conference when it aired yesterday or saw one of the rebroadcasts. What we're going to be talking about tonight are several issues that she brought up in her press conference. One was the her decision to request more federal intervention here in Chicago, asset forfeiture for gang leaders, and the rescinding the electronic monitoring program for violent offenders who are not going into jail, but they are basically under house arrest. Now, I had another video I wanted to share with you really quickly. I'm going to see if it actually shows here when she was praising the police department here in Chicago. I just find it very, very amazing that as much as she praises the Chicago department and the Chicago Police Department and shovels money into their coffers, this is essentially who's heading the Chicago Police Department and his attitude towards service here. Let's see if we can get this.
Pat Young.
Here we go.
$2.9 million this city council just gave to a person who basically outed herself. There was a raid with a wrong address. It was an honest mistake. That video was never supposed to see the light of day, not only because the mayor didn't want the embarrassment and was trying to hide it, kind of like her predecessor did, but the reality is the court said not to. Her lawyer was the one who pushed to have that video released so then he could turn around and sue the city, which is what they did. And now we have aldermen giving $2.9 million to somebody who was not beaten, not shot, not anything by the police department except maybe embarrassed. And I'm not discounting the embarrassment level of this about not being clothed, but $2.9 million of taxpayers' money being given willingly by the majority of the aldermen in city council. It's unreal what this city has turned into, but that's where we're at. That's why things need to change. That's why there needs to be a super PAC fund to go after these aldermen who just don't get it. No matter how many times it's explained to them, they just don't get it. They have their own agenda, and shame on them. But we'll deal with that at a later date going forward.
Wow. That's the head of the union whose praises Mayor Lightfoot was singing as far as police efforts to stop violence on the streets, claiming that the root cause is in the neighborhoods, not realizing that the root causes are the fact that money's not being invested in these neighborhoods. There's no effort by the city to change lives in these neighborhoods across the city. And, you know, I want to proudly say that I actually left a comment on Catanzara's YouTube channel where that video came from that said, if you assholes would do your job, maybe there'd be less lawsuits. But I digress. I want to introduce a very special guest who's agreed to join us tonight. I was actually going to share some of his quotes from Twitter regarding the situation with the mayor's press conference last night. Returning friend of the show, Mr. Jamal Green. Jamal, thank you for joining us tonight.
Always good to be on the Chicago corner.
So yeah, this was, I caught the press conference after it happened. It was brought to my attention, and it was interesting because I was looking for links to the actual press conference last night. And I guess her press conference was more towards the end of the day, and press kind of covered it overnight. So there was more coverage about it today, but I did catch some of your comments on Twitter, and immediately I reached out hoping you could join us tonight, which you could. There were a few quotes there that I thought were really, really kind of sized up some of my thoughts also, if I could share them. You said that keeping people in jail in regards to the electronic monitoring, keeping people in jail who can afford bond or meet the requirements of pretrial services is an injustice to our community. The reality is that the real violent offenders aren't being caught. Take responsibility and improve the clearance rate, not find a publicity stunt. Also, Mayor Lightfoot says she wants the county to put a moratorium on electronic monitoring for violent offenders, and she wants to sue the gangs for assets. Let me be the first to tell you, this is bullshit, and screams that she has no plan. And this is one of the things that struck me too, Jamal, is that she hasn't had a plan. And suddenly, you know, the press conference yesterday was, let's get the feds in here. Let's start suing people. You went on to also say data has consistently shown that the county's electronic monitoring plan does not contribute to a large amount of violence. Judges make the best decision based off of the state's attorney's briefing of the case. This would result in many innocent people sitting in jail again. So there really is a responsibility on the state's attorneys to make their cases so that the electronic monitoring program is not utilized with more violent offenders.
100%. 100%. I think that the state's attorneys do their job when it comes to talking about the cases that are brought before the judges. Then they also have to consider their background. They also have to consider, are they potential flight risks? There's many things that goes into what makes the judges decide on pretrial services. And at the end of the day, I don't think that there should be a moratorium on electronic monitoring, knowing there'll be so many folks who will be sitting in jail pending trial based off of the police officers and the state's attorney's word. And the reality is that the state's attorney gets the police report from the police department, and they get a lot of cases wrong. We have seen that police officers have gotten things wrong. They think they've solved cases and got the wrong person, and they don't need a lot of evidence, right, to file charges against people. So when they file charges, the state's attorney say, well, I guess you have some sliver of probable cause. then that person has to then defend themselves and say, and prove and use evidence to show that they were not that person. But for them to sit in jail all the way until they're able to prove themselves, to prove their innocence in court, I think is out just an injustice, and really hurts our communities. If there are cases where there are violent offenders, where there are situations where, say there's a video of somebody shooting someone, when they tell that to the judge, and the judge sees that video, because the judge will look at the video for bond purposes and say, okay, well, it looks like there's some sort of evidence that shows that this person is violent, even though they're supposed to really presume innocence. Then at that point they will move forward a no bond or a certain bond to keep that offender away.
Now, she made a point during her press conference of discriminating between violent offenders and nonviolent offenders, and emphasizing she's not in favor of this for the nonviolent offenders. But as you just said a moment ago, the police either get it wrong or they intentionally get it wrong. So you will have a lot of those charged who can't make their bail that are not a violent threat to the rest of the public, sitting there when the electronic monitoring program, it seems, is not being instituted or not being invoked the right way. I do want to be fair, though, when we talk about the public's concern about the electronic monitoring program. I want to share a quick little report from ABC News WLS here in Chicago that speaks to the fact that there are a lot of nonviolent offenders. And now this report is also, I think, pretty objective and fairly balanced as far as talking about what we just spoke about with the nonviolent offenders, as well as the concern for those that are slipping through the cracks. Let me play the video real quick.
Alan, there are more than 3,000 people charged with crimes right now wearing ankle bracelets in Cook County so authorities can keep track of them. A more than 30% spike in electronic monitoring here the last year and a half, with the wait time for trial also increasing. Many on monitors for a year or more. All of it tonight, the target of a biting new report.
Ultimately, electronic monitoring is often billed as an alternative to incarceration. And what we've learned is that it's really an alternative form of incarceration that's causing people to be locked in their homes, often 24/7.
Who's locked up here at Cook County Jail awaiting trial, and who is released on a GPS-linked electronic monitor such as this, was the focus of an investigation by the Chicago Appleseed Center for Fair Courts, a nonpartisan research organization that advocates for an equitable and accessible legal system. Their data, reviewed by the I-Team, reveals that almost 3/4 of those on electronic monitoring are Black, and that 8 of every 10 people released to home confinement in Cook County also had to pay a cash bond to get out of jail.
Which is just a double punishment that isn't helping anyone. We also found that most people who are on electronic monitoring are extremely successful.
Sheriff Tom Dart administers the nation's largest pretrial electronic monitoring system. A Dart spokesman tonight tells the I-Team that judges place defendants on the bracelet and that it's not a long-term fix for rising violence. As the I-Team has reported and Dart's office notes, 75% of those on electronic monitoring face violent crime charges. Dozens are accused of murder and ordered released anyway.
We should think about what it looks like to pull back on a program that's causing so much harm in our communities.
Yesterday and today, we asked Chief Cook County Judge Tim Evans for his response to the critical evaluation of electronic home monitoring. On both days, a spokesperson for Judge Evans said that they were still reviewing the 18-page report.
Now, that report came from September, that news report. And I believe that I noticed that in your Twitter feed, you had shared something regarding, I think, Mayor Lightfoot reaching out to Tim Evans also. What do you know about that? Or was that you saying that you wanted to?
I reached out to Chief Judge Evans.
Okay.
He is a friend of mine. And, I'm pushing back on, let me just say there are situational cases in regards to electronic monitoring program. But, you know, just like she said, there are also many cases where the judges are, you know, double punishing people. I was one of those people. All right. Who?
Yeah, I forgot to mention in your intro, you're public enemy number one with Mayor Lightfoot.
Yeah.
A
But
couple months ago.
but no, I when I was arrested years ago at a protest in 2016, I was given a $350,000 bond. I was given 24-hour home confinement. I was given a no social media and a gag order. Okay. So I had Judge Tiempes who went over and beyond to try to hurt me because she just really didn't like me and like the fact that we were protesting protesting against police brutality. So the judges have the discretion. And at the end of the day here, you know, what we need to talk about is we need to talk about how do we start to pour money into prevention and what prevention really looks like. We can't, you know, Lori Lightfoot always talks about everything that happens after a crime. Okay. We talk about jail. We talk about electronic monitoring. We talk about police, everything after the fact. But she never talks about how do we create a safer city with safer communities where we need less police, where we need less state attorneys, where we need less electronic monitoring, because we have more productive citizens who are doing the right thing, that has access to opportunities and access to capital and access to live live a life of happiness and a good quality of life throughout these neighborhoods. I mean, this is our opportunity right now to start changing the state of these neighborhoods and stop pointing the finger. Lori Lightfoot is so good at pointing the finger. Her whole press conference, she blame. Yep. Blame. The federal government needs to do this with guns. The Cook County needs to stop electronic monitoring. Judges need to stop letting folks out. This blame. But what can you do in your power as the mayor of a $20 billion budget with park districts and transportation and public schools and thousands, 40,000 city work? What can you do in your power with all that you have as the mayor, who can sign executive orders, who can tell city council to pass ordinances, and you have so much power over departments? You are telling me that you have no role in changing the quality of life for what's going on in these neighborhoods? That is showing that you don't have a plan, and to get reelected, you must find a way to blame everyone else. We can't have a mayor like that. We need a mayor that's going to take responsibility for their role in their administration, and what is their administration going to do to improve the quality of life of our residents.
And we've talked about this in the past also. Her quote unquote plans are reactionary. They're not preventative. They're never preventative.
Exactly.
And I think if this press conference really proved anything, it's that she's in over her head, that she's got to start playing the blame game here because people are fed up. They want action and they're not getting it. When she talks about she just started letting retail merchants know that the solution to the problem, because this great police department we have isn't able to stem crime down on the Magnificent Mile, is to start buzzing people into the stores.
Yeah.
Or hire your own private security. Now, we also saw in Bucktown, the neighborhood association is hiring private security, which I think on its own is like so liability fraught with the potential for disaster. Because
I'm really hurting for our businesses right now, Jerry. I'll be honest with you. Our businesses are between a rock and a hard place. Businesses, especially our small ones, are those folks who have high turnover rates and folks who don't want to come to work. You have really business owners who are trying to make ends meet, trying to figure out how they can see a profit margin, right? Doing everything that they can. And you have a mayor who has so much control as the top official that she's not doing everything that she can to improve the quality of life, to protect businesses. And then on top of that, she wants to penalize businesses who are not doing what she tells them to do. Right. So she's not protecting them. She's not helping them. She's not giving them any type of incentives. And then we have COVID. And now, as of January 3rd, you know, businesses are going to have to make sure people have masks on their face, make sure people have vaccination cards. They're going to have to do, they're now the vaccine police. And if they don't do it, they're going to get fined $2,000 to $10,000 a piece when they're already struggling. They're already barely getting through. They already are in a situation where folks are going to be resistant to this and not coming to their business, resulting in less sales. And so I'm really, at loss for words right now for what our businesses are going through as an entrepreneur, and I've owned many businesses over 12 years. Lori Lightfoot just really doesn't understand what it means to try to keep businesses afloat. And I'm just really saddened to see our businesses continue to fall and continue to leave.
Well, within the past 24 hours, she's really been on the warpath. And another comment you made on Twitter, which I thought was very, very salient. Lightfoot is mandating that on January 3rd, you can't enter into bars, restaurants, gyms without a vaccination card or negative test. The mandate bothers me because it'll only hurt small businesses because people will resist. Plus, vaccinated people are still carriers and the market for cards will surge. So very, very true.
Yeah,
businesses are going to suffer. People are going to get the fake cards. No, please continue. I'm sorry. I just wanted to.
No, they're going to suffer. I had a business owner today, telling you today, just hours ago, tell me, Jamal, I can barely make people put their mask on. I got to fight with people to put their mask on when they come in here.
Yeah.
And the city is going to find me if we're not spending every minute trying to make sure that people have vaccine cards and masks on, everything. I mean, they're going to give us $2,000 to $10,000 fines. They're going to shut us down. We can barely hire good workers who are ready to work because folks, especially in a retail industry, in a restaurant industry, you already know that there are low wages and everything that's happened over the past year. We're in a situation where it's hard to get folks back into the retail workforce.
Yeah.
So they're having a hard time. So now they have another burden on them. Now that less people are coming into your establishment because of COVID, right?
Right.
You must make sure that you are the vaccine police. You must make sure that people have a mask on. Where's the help for our businesses? Where's the programs? Where are we putting together a fund to support these business owners who are going to go through a hard time for the first quarter of the next year? And that's where our attention should be, trying to push the administration to support these businesses because they're taking it rough. And the Black businesses are going to take it the worst because the reality is folks in the inner cities where we have the largest number of people who are resistant to the vaccine because they don't feel like, the government cares about their health because they're living in poverty. They're living in polluted areas. They have lead in their water. They dodging bullets, so the vaccine is really the last thing on their list. They're pushing a vaccine, but to them, they feel like, well, y'all never really cared about us ever before. So why should we listen to you now? It's that trust is so broken with the government. And at the end of the day, where those numbers are low and we're trying to force it on them, that's where our small businesses are. And so our small businesses are then trying to, our small businesses are then trying to have sympathy for these folks who come in who are really resistant to it, right? And so if they're not the police and putting their foot on them, they're going to get fined by the city. Yeah. So, these small businesses are really going to be in a tough position come January 3rd, and mandates and forcing folks is just not the best way here. Not in these communities. It just doesn't work in these communities. We got to have better ways to build trust within the people in the government so that when we do say this is the guidance that you should take, they'll take it.
And, the reactionary response there is a revenue generator to find businesses too. It always ends up getting tied to like the city taking more money from people.
It's all money.
Let's take a step back because we obviously when we're talking about Mayor Lightfoot with the mandates or trying to push through a mandate with taking or pulling back the electronic monitoring, we shifted into businesses and COVID now reemerging with the businesses. We didn't get a chance to talk about her her proposal to start suing gang members.
Yeah.
Asset forfeiture, which we've seen work so well in the past, where I think the police department already has a program in place where they've been seizing assets
They
from.
control the budget.
They control the budget. The money look, on top of the money that the city is pouring into the police budget, they've got all the money that comes from the
and no one oversees it.
And no one oversees it. Nobody knows where the money is going.
They get
Nobody
to choose
knows
wherever
how
they
much
wanna
is
spend
there.
their- It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. They make, upwards of $8, $9, $10 million a year, and they get to do whatever they want to do with the money. They have one person in the department who signs off on the checks. So they say, oh, well, we usually put it into technology or put it in this and that. There's no reason why we should be giving CPD $2 billion a year plus hundreds of millions in overtime. 100 million. We are at 67 million in police misconduct this year. So 100 million a year in police misconduct. And we're allowing them to control when they take people's cars and sell them and their assets, and they get to control where they want to spend the money. That makes no sense. We should have some type of oversight and some control over that money, especially because we already given them 2.4 billion of our dollars each year. So Lori Lightfoot's idea is insane. Let me just say this. Reason being is it shows how much she doesn't understand the community. Our gang leaders are in jail. Okay. We're not in a situation where we have these large gangs that build and everybody's following the leader and they have all these assets that we can sue. I mean, we're not in that situation right now. We're in a situation where we have young people coming from certain conditions, creating cliques on every block, every single block. They're creating different cliques. We have thousands of gangs in the Black communities, brown communities right now, thousands. And so at the end of the day, when you have a situation like that, you're not there. The market is saturated. There's no situation where they're getting drug rich anymore, where they're selling a bunch of weed. I mean, weed is legal. Okay. So every block has 10 different people selling weed. See, Lori Lightfoot don't understand this because she don't understand the streets. And so the reality of the situation is an idea like that is a waste of our time and a waste of our taxpayer dollars. And you want to lodge $10,000 judgments and sue anybody you want to sue with no oversight. I mean, it's just insane.
I think the other concern there is it's rife for abuse. When you see all the other corruption throughout the city, everywhere else, don't tell me that that program's not going to be abused if it's implemented.
It is going to be abused.
You're going to have a lot of innocent. Yeah.
They'll be able to sue anybody.
Well intentioned, but this broad net that they're casting is going to catch a lot of people that shouldn't be caught into it. That's the problem.
100%.
Everybody
sees.
sees.
And it's just same thing like the gang database. It'd be the same thing, right? Now you got this gang database where if my brother is in a gang, then they put me in the database and they put my sister and my mama, anybody, they just throw anybody that they know in the gang database and they're affiliated with this gang. And so, I don't understand. Lori Lightfoot is really a prosecutor, and I really wish she would have ran for state's attorney and lost because this just wasn't the job for her. We need a mayor. We need a mayor that understands the needs of businesses, to understand the needs of citizens, to understand the needs of young people and the youth and what they're going through. Right? We got an 11-year-old carjacker out here, right? And an 11-year-old should not be spending his time carjacking. Why is that? If that's the question that you must ask, those are the questions that you must answer.
That's the solution that you have. That's the proactive, preventative solution you have to come up with before the reactionary one. So let's
because Jerry, that 11-year-old carjacker is carjacking now, but what happens when he gets 16?
Sure.
What happens when he gets 18? Now he's a murderer. Go ahead, Jerry.
Let's play pretend here for a moment. Let's play pretend that you are in a position of leadership that has the ability to make the kind of proposals that we're not seeing right now from our current mayor. Where do we start? Where do you suggest that we start in preventative solutions instead of waiting to pour money into the police budget, put more cops on the streets who don't even appreciate the privilege they have serving the public when you've got clowns like the Fraternal Order Police president stirring up the troops and coming up with solutions that are going to help people as opposed to punish them and make things worse.
Well, let's just go back to what I was just talking about. We just talked about 11-year-old carjacker. The detective, one of the detectives in the division called me and said, Jamal, we don't have anywhere to send this kid, right? Now, that is one of the problems. One of the problems is we always wait until the problem happens before, and now we're reacting to it like you talked about. We need real solutions for young people. Young people in these neighborhoods who come from a broken household, right? Who goes into a school and then these schools have harsh disciplinary actions and putting them out. I was one of those kids kicked out of 9 schools. So we got to really understand how to reach our youth when they're in very young ages. Okay. And then even in those 11-year-old ages. So when they go into come out of that household, they're going to go, the first place they're going to go is that school, right? And the schools must have the support needed so that they can make sure that they're supporting these young people. Clinical staff members, counselors. We're talking about after school programs, making sure those kids have somewhere to go all the way until those evening times where those mothers are finally getting off of work. We got to understand that the majority of these households are ran by single mothers. That means that single mothers are working all day. So we got to make sure
for less than minimum wage too.
Yeah,
while they're being blamed for knowing they're watching their kids. And invariably, we also see other communities sitting here claiming, well, it's the fault of the broken households. It's not everyone else's responsibility. You're laying out what the challenges are that other people are not really paying attention to and understanding.
Paying attention to that. So they're the essential workers. Those are ones that are working doubles, to try to provide for their families. And so what happens with those kids? Those kids either are in the streets, right? And they always say, where are the parents? Well, the parents are doing what they think they should be doing, working all day, okay? Because they didn't have no other opportunity. So, so they go into those schools, they need the proper support, okay? If they don't get the proper support in the schools, guess who's going to see them next? They're going to 9 times out of 10 see a police officer, okay? So why don't we have programs, not only in the schools, right? But a program that is designed right in the police department, deferment programs where young people are not being charged with nonviolent crimes and going down to the state's attorney's office, but being mandated to mentoring programs, a certain mentoring program that we fund millions of dollars throughout these communities, where if they get in trouble and meet this criteria, they'll be mandated to this program for 12 months so that they will not be charged. A program that focuses on getting them on the right path, focuses on putting them in the trade if they're in the older teenage level. Certain programs that the city adopts that we fund, because you got to understand, there are a lot of nonprofits out here that are doing good. But the problem is they're not able to do nothing but for 50 kids because they don't have the funding for it. The city should be adopting certain programs in different areas and funding them. So when they go to the police department has somewhere to send that 11-year-old carjacker. Okay. And that program could then go to that house and see what's the problem and say, all right, well, he needs transportation. They need food. They need whatever, et cetera. And they're able to really support that kid all the way through and have somebody there on him saying, making sure he's going to school, making sure he's getting his work done, having a mentor that makes that kid feels like somebody care about him. Because the reality of the fact is, when you got a parent who's working all the time, kids, they have a lack of feeling like that nobody cares for them, nobody loves them, right? And because so many people are out working and providing for them, they don't understand that. They need to feel like somebody's there for them. If they don't, guess who they're going to get it from? Another kid on the street who's going through the same problems, who is feeling unloved. And that person is going to become their brother. And when somebody do something to their brother, they got to retaliate because they feel like I got to retaliate for my brother. And now they've in a clique and now committing crimes, carjackings, etc.
It's their extended secondary family is what it becomes.
It's their secondary family. That's the person I'm going to see every day. When I go outside on that corner, I know my friend and my brother is going to be there. I know when I need something, when I need to get somewhere, he's going to give me some transportation. So we got to really understand here's the problem, Jerry. The problem is we keep electing leaders who really don't understand these neighborhoods. Lori Lightfoot from Massillon, Ohio. Okay. David Brown from Dallas. I mean, everybody in all her city halls from out of town. And they're very disconnected from what's really going on.
But if I can also interrupt, the cynical part of me thinks they do understand, J-Mal. It's just not their priority. I hate to go there, but I do think that you're right. They don't know our streets as well as people like yourself or people who've lived here all their lives. But there's also a disconnect. It's just not their priority.
The passion. And that's the second thing that I would say is either they don't know and they don't know what to do, or second, they don't have the passion for it because they haven't lived it and experienced it. So it's not their priority. You know, if Lori Lightfoot experienced the things that I've experienced growing up, okay, watching people shot, watching my single mother go to work all day, okay, I've seen everything that these young people are seeing today. I could have easily went into a different path. Kicked out of 9 schools, was a troubled kid. I could have easily went into a different path. But if it was not for mentors who grabbed me and said, you have too much potential and I'm going to show you how to channel it, I could be a different kid today. If Lori Lightfoot was one of those kids, her passion would be a little bit different and her understanding would be a little bit different, and it would be a priority.
There's a disconnect there. I know that you have been spearheading an effort with the Majesti All-Stars. You're trying to get this youth center off the ground. Last I remember following, and I think that this was maybe about, I want to say 5-6 months ago, it seemed that there may have been a breakthrough in that before your last altercation down at City Hall, I think a month ago during another protest, was that they seemed receptive to have you come down to talk about, I think, relinquishing that school property, but I never saw, I mean, I assume nothing went through because there was no follow-up on it after you said, we've got exciting news, they want to talk with us, but then I didn't see a follow-up. What ended up happening there? Were they just blowing more smoke up everybody's butts, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is not a priority for the mayor. And at the end of the day, we're just working on getting that building and that property from the city. It's been sitting in the city's hands for 8 years now.
Jesus.
We want to build an 80,000 square foot facility there that can change the neighborhood. Yep. And we're not asking for any city dollars.
Creating a preventative solution. You're creating a preventative solution.
This should be something that the mayor wants to help fund. But we said, listen, so we can make this nice and easy. Just sign it over to us or sell it to me. I'll buy it right now. I don't care how much it is. I'll buy it out of my pocket. And I still don't have any plan for them to relinquish that building because they have some, underlying feelings about me. But
it's an ego thing. You almost have to wonder, it's an ego thing because you're proposing a solution they can't come up with. And, in their eyes too. Yeah. Well, in their eyes, it gives you more political clout when this isn't about political clout.
100%.
You're trying to help the youth in your community.
It's totally about the youth. And I don't need their help. I got this. If I get the building tomorrow, the state of Illinois will give me several million. Okay. I don't even need to go to the city. The state is already committed to helping us with this project, but we don't have the building. So at the end of the day, this is a $15 million project. Doesn't cost much. We already have it fully funded, and we can have this building up within a year. And it'll be a facility where young people will be able to go and we'll be able to tackle all the problems that they're going through. We'll have a wellness center and support staff on staff. We'll have an aviation department and flight simulators where they'll be able to learn how to be pilots, and a coding department where they can learn tech and how to build apps. When we talk about really what's going on with our young people, we'll be able to do it all the way from the beginning, because we'll also have a 24-hour child care center where, we'll be able to tackle the problems of from babies on up to 2025. So at the end of the day, this is a very revolutionary center and there's nothing like it. And we're not asking the city to do nothing but sign away a building that you never even looked at for the last 8 years. It's been sitting abandoned. There ain't no swings on the swing set. The park looks abandoned. For 8 years, you never even came over there. All we asking you to do is sell the property to me or give it to me. I don't care.
They suddenly paid attention and came over when you were protesting during the hunger strike out on the roof, where it was like
they put 4 light bulbs in there after I got done.
Yeah. What was the result of the last altercation where you guys were protesting? And I know you were arrested and the judge dropped all the charges. What ended up being the final story with that?
Well, they didn't have much evidence. Obviously,
Well, there was no evidence. You were legally protesting.
Yeah, I was
But
legally
protesting. Tell our viewers what you were there with the group protesting.
So, I mean, this was right after, it was a day after Simeon had 2 kids that were killed. 2 young teenagers were killed, both one right outside of Simeon, one a few miles away, and two of their students. So the school was just in a wreck, and from the staff to the students, and it made me so mad because I was there. I went to the scene when that first kid was killed. The second kid was an activist. And all of the parents, everybody reaching out to me, this is my neighborhood, everything's going on. And the mayor, the next day, doesn't even come to the school. There's no type of effort to have a bunch of counselors or nothing, no type of effort to support these kids who just lost 2 kids to gun violence the previous day. Everybody's talking about it. And there's no type of support for these young people. And there's no mayor to come and say, hey, we're here for you, and we have these people here for you. And so what they did was they sent those kids to school. It got so crazy. Then they sent more threats, and all they did was send those kids home. And so after that, I was just so mad. So many parents wanted to do stuff. I had parents who lost kids with me. We all went down to City Hall while the mayor's sitting in her office, not doing anything. She could have came to Simeon and assured those parents that she was going to do everything that she can, but she didn't. And so we made so much noise, and her security guards, got in front, and then Lori made the call to her security guards to have me arrested.
Wow. Can I just interject here? Even if it was just for show,
yeah,
how much goodwill she could have gotten had she come out and met with you and said, let's talk about this. But instead,
yeah,
again, it's a threat to her ego. It's a threat to her authority. Call security, get you out of there when everybody can see through exactly what's going on and the reasons you were there.
Just want the mayor to do the right thing, Jerry.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for, the mayor to go, super above and beyond. I want her to do the right thing. And you're the mayor, and these people are suffering. Do the right thing by these people. Listen to the people that are in these neighborhoods. Make decisions that are proactive and make sure that you're showing people that you care. Not every time you get up, you're talking about prosecution. All right. I'm suing, I'm arresting, we need to hold them accountable.
More incarcerations.
More incarceration.
Yeah.
And you're not talking about the real solutions in the neighborhoods. And, I was talking about just some time ago, she came into my neighborhood to a vacant lot and said she wanted to fund projects that people wanted to use in vacant lots. But you're not talking about coming to build homeowners and build up new homes or, make these neighborhoods look better. You're not talking about investing in the infrastructure so that potholes are not on every corner. You're not talking about landscaping. I mean, you're not giving no hope to these neighborhoods. You're talking about people who want to use these vacant lots for community gardens. I mean, let's be serious here. These neighborhoods need real intentional investment and real work, and we need to rebuild them. If you want these young people to care about their neighborhoods, then give them something to care about. Give them somewhere to go. Give them a neighborhood that's paved with nice trees and hope. So when they walk to school and they're walking around, they feel like they're inspired and they feel like there's hope for the future. But we don't do that. These neighborhoods look like ghost towns in third world countries. And, they go through so many problems, and we expect them to sit in a classroom and learn 2 + 2 and not get in trouble and go on the streets and be productive citizens. We're expecting too much and not giving none.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
I think that's the best place to leave it. I mean, I think everybody can see what the problem is. And I guess we're just going to have to sit and wait and see what else happens after this press conference. I don't know that she's going to be able to get that initiative through with suing gang leaders. I mean, we'll just have to see what happens.
She's buying off a lot of the black politicians. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a happy holiday to you and your family. And thank you again. You know, you're always welcome to join us here. If you have anything else that you want to talk about, I'm so very grateful you had time this evening to come on and talk about this. It was a last minute thing, but I felt the best person to come on and share their thoughts about everything was you. So appreciate it so much, Jamal. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Happy holidays and have a great new year.
You too.
Take care.
You too. That was Jamal Green, Southside activist, former mayoral candidate who ran for mayor of Chicago last electoral cycle. And that's kind of an overview of our thoughts regarding Mayor Lightfoot's press conference yesterday. You can find the press conference online, I think, through the city's website. I would encourage everybody, if you do have the time, to go watch it in its entirety. You know, I could only show snippets from it that were relevant to what we wanted to talk about. But, you know, to be fair and objective, I would encourage everybody to go seek it out. I think it's about 50 minutes long. Now, we have another special guest on this evening. As I'm going to transition into our next story, let me actually bring up what we're going to follow up on here, because Kit and I covered a story last Friday, and it was in regards to uptown affordable housing developments for women who are homeless and low-income seniors getting city approval. And let me put that, let me share that up on the screen here. Where are we here? More tech issues. Will that bring up now? Oh, one more. There we go. There's the story. And as I reported, 2 housing developments in Uptown are being developed for, again, women who are homeless, low-income seniors. However, something just didn't smell right about this story, given the fact that Alderman Kappelman was involved in greasing the wheels on this particular development. And there was something in the article that I read that I missed the first time we shared the article, but I'm going to repeat it. And I think it's the paragraph that set off the alarms to me and Kit, which is why I'm very, very grateful. My next guest, who I'm about to introduce after I go through this paragraph here, will help fill in some of the blanks. And it's in regard to the Uptown-based nonprofit Sarah's Circle. Now, Sarah's Circle received final approval for its plans to build 28 units of permanent housing for women experiencing homelessness at 4737 North Sheridan Road. The 5-story building would include 28 studio apartments and office space for Sarah's Circle employees. It will have meeting space, a demonstration kitchen, and other program space for residents. Now, what was interesting about this particular development was that this project was already fully funded. But although it was funded several ways, there was a $3 million payment that was given to them from the developer of the controversial apartment building coming to the Weiss Hospital parking lot that is being developed elsewhere. So when you've got a development that already has its funding and suddenly $3 million is coming from elsewhere that's not needed, you have to wonder, well, what's that all about? The payment made to Sarah's Circle allowed the Weiss developer that is developing that parking lot for a new high-rise housing to buy out 75% of its affordable housing requirements, and city officials sought to route the payment to Sarah's Circle. So let me break this down. Weiss, that owns the parking lot, that has a responsibility to include a certain percentage of affordable housing, doesn't have to provide all that affordable housing now because they made a $3 million payment to Sarah's Circle, which was already funded. That's whole mission statement is to provide affordable housing. Some members of the public at the Plan Commission meeting blasted the funding mechanism and said the Weiss development will further gentrification in Uptown. And how will this further gentrification? When you've got more higher priced condos and apartment buildings going up, people who can't afford the housing there, you're basically taking away the affordable housing, right? So you're gentrifying the community, chasing people out that can't afford to live there, and creating a new environment of gentrification where only higher paying tenants can live in the community, therefore changing the diversity, changing the demographics of the neighborhood. city officials, including Alderman Kappelman, said the payment allows for more affordable housing in a neighborhood that's attracting much market rate development. It takes a lot of work to pull all the financing together for affordable housing, Kappelman said. Well, that Sarah's circle was already funded. So that was the part of the article that I had read about as we moved on through the article about the other senior living housing that I kind of didn't catch that detail. Well, former friend of the show and March for Medicare for All advocate and participant, Kathy Powers, who I also understand when I was talking with her on the phone, she's a member of the Northside Action for Justice and also Everyday Hero Winner Award from the Northside Action for Justice. Kathy, welcome to the show. We've got Kathy on audio. Here. You there, Kathy?
Hi, Jerry. Hi, everybody.
Thanks for joining us, Kathy. Now, Kathy sent me an email and said, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes with this development that you and Kit reported. And I'm like, well, tell me more, because as I really try to impress upon people here, I'm not a journalist. All I am is a commentator looking for stories covered and vetted by other sources. And there's more going on to the story that I'm not saying Blog Club Chicago didn't cover. They just didn't cover in depth. So when Kathy came to me and said there's more going on here that's contributing to the gentrification in that uptown area, I said, tell me more. So Kathy, should I go into a few more details that we discussed previously, or do you want to maybe share a little bit about what happened at this community meeting that was also attended by the Lakeside Area Neighbors Association that have been keeping an eye on the Weiss development, how it's potentially going to gentrify the community there in Uptown?
You take the lead, Jerry.
All right. Okay. So here's what happened. There was a development group called Pipeline, and they purchased Weiss Hospital along with Westlake and West Suburban Hospital in early 2019. Now, when they purchased those properties, they promised specifically with the Westlake Hospital, they were going to keep it open as a hospital. Well, once they got the property, they reneged on that and shut it down, which threw up alarm signals in Uptown, since they had purchased the Weiss property, the Weiss Hospital property, and that parking property that they thought was going to be further utilized for the hospital. Now, keep in mind, if they build an apartment building in that parking lot footprint, right, which with studio apartments going for $1,700 a month, one bedrooms are going for $2,100 a month, two bedrooms are going for $2,900 a month, and only 8 affordable housing units. When you have people that can't afford to live there, this will eventually affect what's happening with the hospital next door. And what Uptown's very, very concerned about is Weiss Hospital shutting down, because it's very, very sorely needed in that neighborhood. Now, Kappelman knew about a lot of this stuff before the community did, as far as the development. And I think it was, let's see here. It was, what was the other developer, Kathy? Lincoln Properties. So Weiss got purchased by Pipeline, and then Lincoln Properties purchased the Weiss parking lot from Pipeline to develop into high-rise housing. Am I correct on that, Kathy?
Well, we don't really know yet if they actually bought it. What they said to Pipeline is, we will buy this parking lot and we'll do this luxury high-rise development if you get the parking lot rezoned, because the parking lot was zoned for medical use. They store cadavers there. They have testing tents there. They have all kinds of medical type things that go on in this parking lot. But, it's location, and Pipeline. Let me tell you about Pipeline. Pipeline, as you correctly stated, they have no business even having Pipeline Health in their name. They are hedge funders. They're buying all these community hospitals because they're always in good locations that are losing money, and the people sell it to them all the time because they're bankrupt, essentially. So they come in and say, okay, we're going to buy your hospital and we're going to just make it wonderful. We're going to make it first class. So Capital, I don't really know the whole circle, the whole thing, but we've got Cappleman, Lincoln Properties, and White Pipeline. So we got these three entities, and they're all in their back room saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. We will build a luxury. Lincoln Property said, we will build this high-rise unit if you get the parking lot rezoned so that we can do that.
Right.
And what happened was
a lot of backroom deals with Kappelman after that is what resulted in that proposal.
In 7 days, it went through the Planning Commission, it went through the Zoning Commission, and it was approved through City Council without 48 hours notice, by the way, a violation of the Open Meetings Act. But then they kind of, they've kind of clouded that over by saying, well, it was just kind of thrown in the agenda with other business that was there. No, it was a violation of the Open Meetings Act. And the people, we didn't get to even testify at City Council. We did at the Planning Commission. We did at the Zoning Commission. 7 days. 7 days. The rezoning got approved. So it got approved. And the parking lot still sits there, fenced up mostly. It's just mostly a vacant lot with a few little medical things, and it sits there. So we don't know yet if Pipeline has sold the property. I don't think they've sold it yet to Lincoln Properties. Lincoln Properties is a piece of work too. I mean, I'll tell you about them later. We assume that Lincoln Properties is leasing that land from Pipeline.
Okay.
I don't even call it Weiss anymore. It's Pipeline. That's all it is. And they're just holding it for whenever they decide they're going to do this thing.
What's interesting, too, that you brought to my attention is that the developers met with Sarah's Circle before public disclosures to make the payment to be able to avoid providing affordable housing within the new Weiss parking lot project that hasn't started yet. But, people are assuming that's what's going to happen. Now, developers ignoring community concerns for affordable housing requests and the impact on housing pricing because of the new development. Let me read from Block Club Chicago. This article came from July 1st, but it's relevant to Kappelman greasing the wheels there. And the reason we're returning to this story is because while I thought it was last week's feel-good story, there was going to be, affordable housing for seniors and women in need in Uptown. There's more sinister stuff going on behind the scenes that could potentially gentrify the neighborhood even more, given the payment that came from Lincoln to Sarah's Sarah Center? Sarah's Circle. So
we don't know if the payment's been made yet either. We don't know.
So this came from Joe Ward. After Uptown Advisory Panel flip-flops on Weiss Hospital parking lot development, Alderman says he'll support it. Alderman James Kappelman's Zoning Advisory Board initially voted down the development, but the board changed its vote. And I think that that was also questionable because it was the margin in the vote was like by one, and then after the vote was supposedly final, someone else cast a vote that changed it in favor of the development, and then someone else wanted to cast a vote electronically against it, and Kappelman would not allow their vote to go through. once it was suddenly in the favor of the developers. A developer's controversial plan to build an apartment complex on a Weiss Hospital parking lot, once considered dead in the water, has officially been endorsed by the neighborhood's alderman after a controversial approval process that has angered some neighbors. Lincoln Property Company's proposal to build a 12-story apartment building at Weiss Lot at 4600 North Marine Drive has the support of Alderman James Kappelman of the 46th, the Uptown alderman announced Wednesday. The project will now move forward to the city approval process after originally being voted down by Kappelman's Zoning Advisory Board before the board reversed its decision. Last month, Kappelman's Zoning Advisory Board rejected the development in a razor-thin vote. Here's where the questionable.
Oh my God, yes.
1 week later, the North Halstead Business Alliance said its representative voted against the wishes of the chamber group, which asked that its vote be changed from opposing the project to supporting it. That flipped the vote to 16 in favor and 15 opposed. Kappelman usually follows the guidance of his zoning committee, but since the vote change was so unprecedented and the vote so close, Kappelman said he would make a final determination on whether to support the project. In a letter to members of his zoning committee, Kappelman said he supports the development. The project will boost affordable housing options in the ward while allowing for investment into Weiss Hospital, Kappelman said in his letter. There were many great counterpoints that were raised, but in the end, the positive aspects to this proposal outweighed the negative repercussions, he said in the letter. The controversial 314-unit development will be considered by the city's planning commission on July 15th. Again, this is an old article. It then will require support from the city's committee on zoning and the full city council. Some neighbors will continue their campaign against the project, which has already garnered 2 protests in Uptown. Lincoln Property Company is under contract to buy the Weiss parking lot, where it is proposed to build a courtyard-style apartment building without the required affordable units now that they made that, what was it, $6 million payoff to Sarah Circle?
The promised payoff.
Right, the promised payoff. The 314-unit building would include 136 parking spaces, a bike room, and a rooftop deck, blah, 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 blah. Plans call for 8 affordable units, with Lincoln planning to satisfy its remaining affordability requirement with a $3.1 million payment to Sarah Circle for a housing facility in Uptown. Selling the parking lot to a developer would make better use of a lakefront property and inject cash into Weiss, a community hospital, supporters have said. Opponents say the development could further gentrification in Uptown and doesn't have enough affordable units. Opponents say they don't trust Weiss's new ownership group, which already reneged on their promise regarding not selling the Westlake Hospital property. They don't trust Weiss's new ownership group, which has been criticized for buying and promptly closing a suburban hospital. In his letter of support, Kappelman said the development will help add a diversity of housing options in the ward. While some said the planned 8 on-site affordable units was not enough, Kappelman said funding the Sarah Circle project will create housing for very low-income people and those experiencing homelessness compared to affordable units in new developments that are usually offered at 60% of the area median income. Hey, Kappelman, how about providing more affordable housing fucking everywhere? Do you see how they're playing with the numbers? They're shifting things back and forth to meet the minimal median requirement so that his cronies can make more money in gentrifying and putting up all the luxury housing that's going to drive more people out. A new apartment complex will also alleviate pressure on naturally occurring affordable housing in the ward, Kappelman said. A number of valid and reliable research articles have shown that building more apartments, including luxury units, will help stabilize or lower rent areas, the alderman's letter reads. Kappelman's letter was addressed to the Lakeside Area Neighbors Association, the neighborhood group surrounding Weiss Hospital that has strongly opposed the development. Marion Lalonde, president of the neighborhood group, said she was not surprised to see the alderman's support of the project and that the local approval process calls into question the role of Kappelman's zoning board. There's no surprise, says Lalonde, who ran against Kappelman last election. It's been pretty clear from the alderman's tone and language that he has been supportive of this proposal. Lalonde and other members of the local zoning board were angered by how the local approval process played out, including the allowing of a vote to be switched after a meeting. Some of the committee were also angered that neighbors of Lakeview Towers, an affordable housing complex near Weiss Hospital, were unable to vote on the development proposal. Lakeview Towers' main representative was not available to make the zoning board meeting due to health reasons, but the neighbors group did not properly anoint a new representative in time for the board meeting on the Weiss proposal, according to emails reviewed by Block Club Chicago. The group was seeking to vote no on the proposal, but was not allowed to do so, they said in emails to the aldermen. The voting issues highlight flaws in the local zoning process, Lalonde said. It's deprioritizing the voice of people who live in affordable housing, who are going to be the most impacted by this development, she said. I hope this shows other aldermen that our community process is not a community process. Now, keep in mind, too, the more higher priced luxury housing that goes up, the more people that can't afford that housing are going to leave, and you're going to see more empty low-income housing units around that particular development that are then going to be swept out by developers, developed into more high-priced housing, and you're essentially going to be relocating and what's the word? Not chasing out, but I'm having a brain fart here.
Like cattle, run out like cattle.
Yeah, herd it out like cattle. Yeah, while gentrifying the neighborhood.
Yeah, well, when they gentrify the neighborhood and they raise the property values, the property taxes go up. So the people who are living in affordable housing, their property taxes go up and they can't pay it anymore, and they have to leave too. Yeah, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Uptown
Displacing. That was the word I was looking for. Is they're displacing. They're displacing the people who live in the neighborhood who can no longer afford to live there, which then ends up contributing to the gentrification and completely changing the character and demographic of the neighborhood. Yeah, which will generate higher property taxes, I guess, for the city. But Kappelman has been criticized for so long for literally like chasing out. Not only he was helping, or he was assisting a lot of these affordable housing, these low income temporary hotels.
Yeah, the SROs.
The SROs, they were shutting down the SROs for more development. They were displacing so many low-income residents into becoming homeless, literally like creating tent camps underneath the bridges and in the parks and then chasing them out of there. Kappelman is just behind this effort to completely gentrify Uptown, I guess, in his own image and his cronies.
I think he wants it to be Lincoln Park North.
He does. That's the perfect way to put it, Kathy, because that's where I see this gentrification process going. It is into creating a community that's more like Lincoln Park, which, hey, there's nothing wrong with Lincoln Park, but people need to be able to afford, people need to have access to affordable housing, period. And when you're chasing out and destabilizing an affordable community in favor of gentrifying the neighborhood this way, where are these people supposed to go? Where are they supposed to live? We wonder where all these people living on the streets are coming from. Here's part of the answer.
I took a bus ride on the 147 downtown a couple weeks ago. And I want to tell you, in Lincoln Park, there is no green space left. It's covered with people and tents and for miles and miles, because Lincoln Park is huge, for miles and miles and miles, and there's so many homeless people now that they can't even chase them out anymore. There's just too many of them.
Well, it's shameful that they should be focused on chasing them out instead of offering solutions and offering affordable housing. That's the problem, and that's the sickness, the illness of our, dare I say it, capitalist society. And I'm not. I don't want to be branded as a communist now, although I do lean towards socialism. But it's shameful. And this guy Kappelman, he ran on his record as having worked, I guess, as a social worker. And I remember stories once he took office in his ward, he was demanding that the Red Cross not provide food for homeless, hot meals, because they needed to have initiative and pull themselves up by their bootstraps. This is what the former social worker was demanding of the Red Cross or the Salvation Army, I think it was, in the neighborhood.
What about the pigeons? What about the pigeons in Uptown?
Fill me in on the pigeons, because I don't know the pigeon angle.
Oh, I'm talking about the pigeons. That's the first thing he did when he got in office was he took all the basketball hoops out of the parks. That's the first thing he did. Then he hired a farmer from Indiana to capture all of the pigeons and put them in the truck and drive them to Indiana to be live bait for shooting in Indiana.
Jesus Christ, what a piece of shit. Sorry, I mean I use that phrase a lot, but it just is the first thing that jumps into mind. That's what
we called him the Pigeonator for a long time.
The Pigeonator.
The Pigeonator. Well, he deserves every name that we call him. Let me tell you right now what's happening. So this deal had to go through quickly. It had to go quickly because the ARO laws are changing, and people who are developing are going to have to give more affordable units now under the new statute. So they had to hurry up and do this thing before it changed. So they had their eye on the prize. They wanted to make sure that the
rushing it through, stopping others from registering their votes after suddenly the vote shifted really quickly in questionable circumstances.
Yeah, yep. Exactly. So the people at Weiss who are working there, they're all excited because Pipeline has said, we're going to take all this money that we're making from the sale of the parking lot, and we're going to invest in the hospital. And they believe it. They believe it. Now we know Pipeline, they're hedge funders.
You know what hedge funders do. They seek and destroy.
Sell off every little bit of anything that they can do, and they're selling off the parking lot right off the bat. And then they said, well, we're not going to sell the hospital. That's what they said. First of all, they didn't even put it, maybe they did put it in writing, I don't know. But they didn't say anything about, well, once this big high rise is there, we know what's going to happen. They're going to say, Pipeline is going to say, this hospital is just losing way too much money, and we're going to close it.
Yep.
And they're going to raise it, and they're going to build another high-rise unit there. Hopefully we'll have a different older person in there by then, and maybe that won't happen, but, you can't trust a hedge funder. No. You just cannot touch the hedge funder.
Well, look what they did with the Tribune Tower. Once they got their hands on the Tribune, they're literally like carving up the Tribune company.
Oh my God, they did, and they're still doing it. They're still doing it. I forgot. I read something recently about that. And then they let Tribune Tower go. The windows were boarded. Some windows were boarded up. Hedge funders. They're the curse of the earth. And they got their foot in the door. Now they've decided that buying community hospitals is the bomb. It's the bomb.
As if it's not hard enough for people to find affordable health care, they want to take down the hospitals in the more affordable neighborhoods.
You know what offends me the most? Weiss Hospital, and where this development is supposed to be, it's right across the street from Uptown Tent City. That's offensive. That's offensive. Yeah. They can't. Kappelman has done a lot of sweeps of the viaducts. Well, he stopped doing that now because there's just so many he can't even do it anymore. They have trash receptacles there, and the people use them, and the city never comes and empties them. So it makes the people who live in the tent city look dirty, look dirtier than they are. I mean, what are the people going to do? He's not giving them porta potties. He's not giving them washing stations. And I had a little conversation with him on the red line. He got into the red line. He saw me. He knows me. And so he sat right down next to me. And I said, well, how are things going with the homeless? The first thing I said. And he said, we're doing the best we can, but they really don't want homes.
They don't want help, he said?
They don't want homes. They want to stay outside. They like it much better there. And he's kind of misinterpreting some things. People who live outside do not want to live in the shelters. The shelters are, they're worse than living outside as far as that they steal in the shelters.
A lot of crime, and there's a lot of crime and danger in some shelters also. I mean, look, they're necessary. At least they're
you don't believe in to get a meal. It's not right. It's just not right. And Lori Lightfoot has done nothing.
she's useless right now.
The hotel rooms that some homeless people got, they were the homeless people who were depending on the shelters. The people on the street got nothing. They got nothing because, of course, they want to be there, right? According to Kappelman, they want to be there.
Yeah, they want to be there.
And people who are coming off the street, depending on how long they've been out there, they kind of become kind of feral. They need transitional services to rejoin civilization, to follow rules, to not go off, because they'll just, you could just look at them the wrong way and they might go off or not, because that's how they're living now. They're living as wild animals. It's wrong. It's so wrong.
E. Heller in the live chat shares, and I think that this speaks to your point. They don't want to be means tested and given mandated requirements to live in shelters. Just give them homes or hotel rooms.
That's right. Give them a home or leave them alone.
Simple as that. How much empty housing there is, how many empty buildings there are in the city. And as far as all this high-rise luxury building in Uptown, do you know how many empty shells there are there that can be restored, renovated to provide affordable housing?
Let's talk about the new luxury units that aren't being rented, because he keeps prices.
Right.
And it doesn't matter to the companies, because if it's empty, they get to write it off.
Exactly.
They win.
They have an asset, that they can then save on their taxes with.
That's right. So
while there are people sleeping in tents and under bridges, and Kathy, this guy Kappelman's got to go.
We're not having it.
Kappelman's been a boil on the ass of Uptown for a long time. And I think that stories like this, as reported by Block Club Chicago and followed up by, Everyday Hero Award winners like yourself, with more details to pick apart, are what will hopefully help bring about his replacement in the future. Are you a member of the Lakeside Area Neighbors Association, Lana?
No, I'm not.
Okay, because Kathy had shared. Go ahead.
I'm a member of the campaign. Northside Action for Justice's turf, as it were, is Rogers Park, Edgewater, and Uptown.
Okay.
But we have a real heavy presence in Uptown, because most of our people come from Uptown. Most of our people who have needs that aren't being met are in Uptown. So we're in Uptown to help them. We've been connecting with Voice of the People now in Uptown. And we're not having this, Jerry. It's not going to happen. We're going to throw our bodies down there on the parking lot, and they're not going to be able to dig. I swear to God. Lincoln Properties. Let me tell you about Lincoln Properties. Lincoln Properties is an international real estate firm. International. And they have a strong record of racism, throwing people out, not letting people in because they have different skin color than white. And there's a long record of it. And there's been lawsuits. In fact, lawyers, when they're law students, that's one of the cases that they all have to go through is a Lincoln Properties case. It's just so what we are doing right now, we're trying to get Lincoln Properties attention, and we want to meet with them at the table. We want them to build affordable housing, and we want to make it very clear that we're not going to put up with anything else. So what we've been doing is we've been going to different sites where Lincoln Properties is, and they're all over. You ought to see. They're uber rich places. We went out to Oak Park. We went to a Trader Joe's in Oak Park because it was on Lincoln Properties. Wait, there's a real nice write-up about that too. And the reason why we went to Oak Park is because West Suburban, who is also owned by Pipeline.
By Pipeline, yeah, they bought
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And they've been trying to shut West Suburban down, but that's not going to happen in Oak Park. What happens in Oak Park? West Suburban is on Austin Boulevard. So it's on the Oak Park side of Austin. And then the other side is Austin, Chicago, Austin. So the hospital takes care of the Chicago, Austin people who don't have a penny to pinch. And then we have I would call Oak Park kind of middle class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like Evanston, north side of Chicago here.
Yeah. A lot of my relatives moved out there because I grew up in Austin, actually. Yeah. And we just kind of moved west a little bit. I left town, but they moved west. So they've been, kind of leaning on Oak Park a little bit, but I don't think they're going to get anywhere with Oak Park. So, but we kind of feel that we are kindred spirits because Pipeline owns our hospitals, right? So
right.
we went out and we went to
the common enemy.
We went to Trader Joe's with our protest signs and flyers. And the people in Oak Park, they were so nice. They're nicer than city people. They were listening to our story. They were taking our flyers. They were giving us supportive words. And I told a lot of people, I said, hey, if Pipeline starts messing with West Suburban, I'm coming out to help you. And I mean it. I mean it too. They were good. So that was one of our actions. And we always expected. So, we went into Trader Joe's and we said, we don't have issues with you at Trader Joe's. We have issues with the land that you have your business on, Lincoln Properties. So that was one place. We went to a restaurant at Lincoln and Wells, Boar's Head Cafe. We went in there and we did the same. We went in there. We did an open mic. We did a mic check, and I would say something, and we would say something, and during lunchtime, of course.
What kind of response did you guys get when you actually were able to take control of the room?
Some people laughed. Some people listened. Some people paid no attention at all. This is Chicago, after all.
Yeah.
And we finished our mic check. And there were no police came. No police came because we told them why we were there and everything. And then so we marched over to the residential side of Lincoln Properties and we protested. We did a picket around there for like 45 minutes. It was a really good action. And this is at Lincoln and Wells downtown. Not one cop or anything because I think most of us were white at the time. I don't think we had.
Yeah, they don't connect to the white. Well, that's one good. Yeah. There's your white privilege.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we're using it. We're going to use it if we have to. And then where's the other place we went? I can't even remember. We went to another restaurant. We did the same thing, and we plan to do some special Christmas carolings at another Lincoln Properties site if we can get enough people to come through. I'm writing the lyrics to the carols. That's always a good time. That's always a good time. But what we want Lincoln Properties to find, because these people are calling Lincoln Properties and saying, "What? What's going on?" Oh, I know where it was. I remember where the other one was. It was in just a very near south side of downtown, a very yuppie area. A very yuppie area. I wasn't at that one. Too bad. And that was our first. So we're hoping that enough people are going to be calling Lincoln Properties and saying, hey, what's going on in that Lincoln Properties, and our information is on the flyers. We're not just raiders from Lost Ark or anything. We're there. We're there.
No, you have a very, very legitimate concerns. It seems that the Lakeside Area Neighbors Association, which goes by the acronym LANA, has got a pretty good eye on what's happening there. They identify as they are the Uptown Block Club with boundaries from Wilson to Lawrence, Sheridan to Clarendon. So along with your group, it seems like there's a watchful eye there that will hopefully keep things in perspective.
Well, we've got One North Side working with us now. That's One North Side Action for Justice. We got the Homeless Union with us. I mean, we're on it, Jerry. We're on it. And if anybody wants to join us, if they think this is as outrageous as we think it is, then
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Tell Jerry, and he'll get in touch with me, and I'll get in touch with you, and there we go.
I can network all the connections. Well, listen, Kathy, thank you for coming on tonight.
Not for sale.
It's not. We need more affordable housing, not just in Uptown, but everywhere, especially given the circumstances we're dealing with right now with the pandemic and the economy.
Kappelman took the Lawrence House, which was an SRO, and he made it a luxury building.
Well, you know what I call Kappelman.
Pigeonator. You can call him a pigeonator.
I call him Alderman. I call him Alderman Crappelman because he's full of crap.
I call him
my nickname for him.
So you know what I'm going to do, Jerry? I'm going to, when I get the link to the show, I'm going to send him the link.
Please do. Please do.
And, oh yes, and I always in my emails. I send them a lot of emails actually, and always my last line is, "We're going to vote you out." Boom.
Get ready for that door to slap that ass.
Yeah. Oh, he's like that.
Listen, I want to tell our viewers who are still with us before we conclude the show that we're going to have. I hope that everyone who joined us tonight and participated in the live chat will be able to join us this Friday for our special Christmas Eve show. We've never done this before. I'm hosting a virtual open house. And what that means is that anybody who's up Christmas Eve, who might be alone, who might not have anywhere to go, and even if you are with your friends or family and want to check into the show is going to be all about you, the viewers, participating, sharing your stories in the live chat. And if you would like to come on in a window like this one over here and talk about something, we're on Twitter at Chicago_corner. Send a direct message there and let me know what you want to come on and talk about for the holidays. Anything you want to share, maybe a situation you're in, or just to come on and have some good fellowship live instead of in the live chat. And I'd love to have as many people in the window here around us as is possible. I don't want Friday's show to be about news and the stuff that, we need to keep vigilant about during the week. I want it to be just a kind of a relaxed, laid back Christmas Eve show where we can all kind of kick back, talk about things we all want to talk about, and just share camaraderie and fellowship and company with each other. And at the show's end, and I don't know how long we'll go. We'll probably go for about an hour or so. But when we conclude the show on Friday, since it is the winter solstice today, I will run my Christmas movie Solstice. I will sign off. And for those that want to remain, you can watch a nice Christmas Eve story on Friday night. Probably around 9:00 is when we'll run that, and enjoy the rest of your Christmas Eve together. So I hope a lot of you can come and participate in the regular show and then stick around for the free movie afterwards. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to opening things up even more to my audience and my viewers so that we can all kind of come together at the end of the year here for the holiday season and appreciate each other even more.
I love love that because I don't want people to travel. It's not a good idea to travel.
No.
Let's be with Jerry.
Well, what struck me about the holidays too, Kathy, is that a lot of people might not have places to go. The holidays can be a great time for people with families and friends, but it can also be like a really intense time of loneliness for others. So that's kind of what I want to open up the show to on Friday, provide like a little safe haven for everybody to come who might not have a place to go or people to share the holiday with, and just kind of kick back with the community here. That's what I want Friday's Christmas Eve show to be about. So I hope those of you who are still with us can join us. Share the link that's already up on the Chicago Corner channel at YouTube that's promoting the special Friday Christmas Eve virtual open house, and join us and have a good time. Because I know I'm going to be stuck home alone Friday for Christmas Eve. I'm still recovering from my shoulder surgery, which means I can't drive and I don't really have a lot of range of motion with my left arm right now. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to be stuck here at home, wouldn't it be great if I could like have a virtual open house and have all the other people who might not be able to get out have a place to come and be together? So that's the plan. That's what's behind the idea.
What kind of food?
What kind of food? Well, I guess whatever anybody's got in their own homes. I don't know that we can pass the food through the lens here like this, unless we got 3D cameras.
In the flavor enhancing mugs.
And the flavor enhancing mugs, which I think he's overdue. I'm wondering when he was going to break in, but there we go. There we go.
I did it for you. Sorry, Pegleg.
No, that's good that you did, because Pegleg is waiting in the wings. We had a lot of serious topics to cover tonight, so I asked Pegleg if he would just stand down while we got through the serious stuff. But now that we're at the end of the show, it's okay to pimp merchandise and wrap other business up. So, Kathy, I hope you can join us Friday if you're in, and that you'll join us again in the future. We're going to keep our eye on this redevelopment in the Uptown neighborhood, Lakeside there, Lakeview, and follow up more and see where this story goes as far as what Pipeline's going to do, or if Lana is going to have more success holding them accountable for what they shouldn't be doing there.
Well, it went through so. Now we send a letter to HUD, telling them how Kappelman is, diverting the course of affordable housing. And I thought it was a pretty good letter. I sent it to you. Did you like it?
You did send it to me. Now I know that you sent it out. Have you gotten a response yet?
No.
Okay,
No.
so I want you to let me know if and when you get I want to know if and when you get a response.
Right.
Because I'd like to share what HUD has to think about Kappelman's antics over there in his ward.
Wow. Antics is a great word for it.
Shenanigans is probably more apropos.
Oh, yeah. I call it shenanigans, like at South Park, right?
Pretty much.
I call it shenanigans. Jerry, I hope sometime we'll be able to talk about treatment, not trauma.
Talk about what?
Treatment, not trauma, the crisis intervention mental health calls. And why cops shouldn't be on them.
Well, let's make a plan and talk about that in the new year. I'm always going to be looking for new show topics. And I want to have you back. So let's put that on the calendar to talk about and circle back around to.
Okay. That's a plan.
All right. Kathy, thanks for joining me tonight. And I hope to see you Friday, and we'll be in touch.
I'll send you a blind carbon copy of my email to Kappelman.
Please do. Yeah. I'd love to. Yeah. The show link will be up. You can at YouTube. You can go ahead and send it to him.
All right.
I want to know if he responds too.
He won't read. You know what he said the last night? Why didn't you come to my office and talk to me?
Some people can't travel. It's not that easy.
Why would we?
Why would you? All right, Kathy, listen, have a good night. I'll be talking to you soon.
Oh, thanks for doing this, Jerry.
Well, thanks for coming on and helping clarify the record.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're coming to the end of our show here. I want to thank everybody for participating in the live chat. Again, if you want to be involved in the live stream on camera here with me this Friday, send a direct message to our
I was just going to thank Kathy for jumping in for the advertisement opportunity there, Jerry, because I was kind of stuck. It's weird, when you have to come through from the ethereal plane. Sometimes you got to go through that weird crypto blockchain, and everybody is going crazy on there right now with the cow coin and the dog coin and the reindeer coin and all those other coins.
There's a reindeer coin now.
I assume. I don't
See,
know.
I would imagine that your biggest concern would be Ghostbusters, but
Oh no, we get along okay. I give them chocolate milk, they leave me alone.
leave you alone.
They like Bessie more than they like me, but that's usually how it goes.
Well, I felt like I was just about to sneak out the back door, and then and we're gonna talk a little bit longer.
Well, I didn't think we were going to stick around very much longer, but
Okay.
I am really excited about
Friday
Friday's
show?
show.
You're going to be able to join us?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to join you in person, but I know I wrote a poem recently that I know you're going to like to hear, and everybody should tune in on Friday to see if Jerry plays it for you.
Oh, I'll play it. Either you'll be here to share it, or I'll play it. I mean, I kind of figured that we would keep that as a surprise, but I guess we're
that's why I'm not telling you what's in it.
Okay.
I mean, it's up to you if you want to give a preview.
No,
but,
no, I'm not going to give a preview. People are going to have to tune in Friday to hear Pegleg's poem.
Yes, you're going to like it. It's a nice holiday poem.
You're giving me a recording of it in case you can't join us?
Oh, for sure. Yes,
Okay, cool.
I will. I'll send it through the Ethernet or whatever it is that I got to send it through. I'll try to go bypass the blockchain, though. Those guys are crazy.
Yeah. Send it through the series of tubes that make up our interwebs.
Yeah, you would not believe that it actually looks like a series of tubes over on my end.
Tubes, I'm sure it does, because you were involved in the interwebs when it was before the internet. So I'm sure
that's
it's
true.
A more primitive infrastructure you're looking at.
Oh, you have no idea. I mean, before that fire even happened, there were so many tubes you didn't even know about, Jerry.
Well, any parting words before we close out the show tonight, Pegleg?
I just wanted to say that if you get a chance to join us on Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central Chicago time, you get to hang out with Jerry at least, and everybody else who comes into the live stream. That's a fun time. And if not, I will wish you all a happy Christmas Hanukkah and a wonderful new year.
Well, I hope you're around to join it. Well, actually, no, I hope you're not around to join us, because if you're not around to join us, it means you've got family and friends to spend time with. So I hope that you have a place to head out to. But if not, you're always welcome here, and we'll be able to hear your work read to us, narrated in person.
Either way, I am happy to be a part of this program, Jerry. You know how crazy it is with everybody not always being able to get out and get to all the family that they have because of the weird thing going around.
That's true.
And,
that little bug that's thrown the world upside down.
And so, even if you can't get out, you can still kind of reach out through the interwebs. And Jerry's Chicago Corner is a great place to tune in on Friday. It's going to be a blast.
Well, thank you. And we were very, very lucky to be joined tonight by Jamal Green and Kathy Powers to help provide some perspective on the developing story with Mayor Lightfoot and the continuing story that's happening in the Uptown gentrification development. So I want to thank them again for joining us tonight. And Pegleg, I want to thank you for helping out, as always, behind the scenes. Please, everybody, it's Tuesday. Have a good week. And take care of each other. Watch out for each other. Be vigilant. Try to join us this Friday. Like and subscribe below. Share our channel if you enjoy what we do here. And remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Good night, everybody.